Hey, welcome back folks. Just a quick one because the weather's really bad at the moment. Not been able to get out and do any landscape photography or certainly not any astrophotography. So here's one I prepared earlier. I was going to do a quick image processing session for HaRGB. So I imaged the California nebula, or part of the California nebula, with my field of view I've got. So if we look here, I've got my registered RGB and HAs. So these are all just basically run through Pixinsight batch pre-processing script, which I've got a quick tutorial on that. So if you want to start from scratch, if you just go back and see that one, and then you should be ready for this. So none of these are stretched at the moment, so they're all still linear. So I'm just going to go through and talk you through step by step how I produce a hydrogen alpha red, green, blue image using mono camera and filters. So here we go. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly check each of the images. These are not the best. I only had like one night on these, and I think the moon was reasonable. I think it's about 88, 89% illuminated. So yeah, so as you can see, the HA looks really smooth. Yeah, looking forward to this. So right, so first thing I'm going to do is crop out any artifacts on the edges. So to do this, I'm just going to go to Process, Geometry, Dynamic Crop. I like to use Dynamic Crop. So choose the worst frame, which you can see. I think it's probably going to be the blue. Yeah, you can see a bit of a dust spot there. I didn't take any flats for these. You should always take flats, but I can't be bothered. So the purpose of this, what we're going to do is quick crop first. So I'm going to use dynamic crop. This one seems to have the most edges shown from stacking. So what we're going to do is we're just going to drag a box just to take the edges off, and then if we click this little arrow here and just drag it onto the page, what that'll do is duplicate this, all the dimensions of the crop, because these are all pre-registered. So if we just hit the tick, you can see this one is now cropped, and then all you have to do is just drag this onto each frame like so. So they're all now cropped. So we can get rid of that. I just delete this. Now the next thing we need to do is stretch them. So what I'm going to do is reset these and go to my screen transfer function. So we'll open that one up, and the histogram transformation. So we'll open that one up. Good practice, reset these unless you know you want to keep your last settings. So what I'm going to do is make sure I've got this one highlighted, so this is the one we're concentrating on. Hit the stretch button, hit the preview button on there. I always go to maximum because I can. So that's not too bad. It's not perfect. Normally I'd spend a bit more time getting the levels right, but for this instance this is going to work just fine. So we drag from the screen transfer function onto the histogram transformation. Now that's now stretched the preview. So what we can do now, if we reset this, so this is now the preview. So if we hit this icon here, we now have a stretched image. So we can shut that down. And this is our stretched image. So this one's done, it's simple as that. So I'll just go through and do these a bit quick. Right, so that's the images now cropped and stretched. So what I'm going to do now, because I've got this far with them, I'm just going to quickly go through and just save them. So I'll just go save as. I've already done this once, so it's just a demo. So yeah, let's just go through normal savings for the XISF files. I'm sure you can probably do it as a batch. You probably don't need to do it individually, but this is just the way I do it because it's the only way I know how to do it. Right, okay, so they're stretched and they're saved to where we are so far. So the next thing I want to do is open up the processes and go to color spaces in all processes. So in color spaces, you've got this HaRGB combination. So we open that one up and we get this window here. Now, you can do all these, you can do them all in one go. So we can just choose basically what we want. So in the luminance, we're going to use our HA as the luminance. We're going to use our red for the red channel, green for green, and blue for blue. Now you can do noise reduction. I don't particularly do noise reduction at this stage, so just click this and Pixinsight will now combine those images into a HaRGB image. So there we go. So that's not looking too bad. It's quite pleased with that. So what I tend to do now is take it into Photoshop and work on it some more in there. The other one you can do is you can just do the RGB. Let's just make another image. So you can see the difference. So this is just an RGB through the RGB filters using a mono camera. And then the difference, add in the hydrogen alpha as the luminance. You can see it's a much cleaner image, a lot more detail in there. So yeah. So what I tend to do now is I like to work on different parts of the image. So with this, we can get rid of this now. I'll just minimize that. I want to copy this, so to do that I can just make a clone of it. So with this clone I'm now going to get rid of the stars. So we go all processes, where is it, StarNet. So StarNet's a plugin for Pixinsight, it's not pre-installed, so you can download StarNet and then you just have to put the file routes in for the app to run. So mine's already done, so I've opened this clone up, I've got my original there, so I'm going to get rid of the stars on this one so I can work on this one separately. So just let that run. Takes a bit of time, obviously depends on what machine you've got. I've got a reasonably decent PC. It's got 32 gig of RAM, I've got a 8-core processor in there as well, and an SSD. So just wait for this to run. if you're running an older version of Pixinsight and you don't have this style window when you open up StarNet, when you click StarNet to run the application, you don't get the processing window come up, and you just get the spinning icon here. It's almost like your PC's crashed, but it hasn't. Just let it go. It takes a couple of minutes, just leave it and see how it goes. It should do the same thing, but on this new version of Pixinsight, where you have to put the file roots in, then it does give you a bit more of an idea of what's happening in the background. Okay, so we have our starless image, and we have the image with our stars. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to save these. So go File, Save As. I want to save it as a TIFF because I'm going to take it into Lightroom and Photoshop. So let's put new stars. So you want to make sure it's 16-bit. You can do 32-bit, but it's easier if you just go 16. It's one less process you've got to do in Photoshop. And save this one as, what should we save this one as? New starless TIFF. Okay, so I'm going to open these with Lightroom. You can do it all in Photoshop, but I just find it for this purpose it's easier to do it in Lightroom if you've got Lightroom. Okay, so we've got new stars, new starless. Let's see these ones I did earlier. Okay, so we have these opened up in Lightroom. Stars, starless. I just like to do a few levels, a tiny little bit of processing on these. You can see with adding that HA as a luminance layer, it's pretty good with noise, but there's still a bit. You can see a bit of colour noise, and these stars are a bit of a funny colour. I think that's due to colour noise as well. So let's have a quick fiddle with this one. So I'm just going to bring the blacks down a tad on that one, and the highlights up slightly. Now I'm not sure what I want to do with the colour, because to me I think these stars look a bit off. So I'm going to lower the vibrance, I think, of those, maybe a little bit. No, let's do some colours instead. Right, so I want to desaturate the blue a little bit. That's quite strong on there. Okay, right, so that's as much as I'm going to do on that one. Now with the nebula, I'm going to do something similar, so I'm going to lower the blacks, reduce the blacks. You can see us starting to pop now. Bring out the highlights a little bit, and this is where I like to add some bit of colour. Yeah, so I like quite a nice sort of like pinky reddy nebula. So so I think that probably will do as a quick demo. Now what I'm going to do now is take them both into Photoshop. So you can just highlight them both, right click, edit in, Photoshop as layers. So I'm going to open it as layers in Photoshop. Right, okay, so we now have our layers. So what I want to do is combine these two. So we've got our layers now. So basically to combine these, I just want to use the stars, but I want this nice pinky red nebula. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to change the blending layer of the stars to, you can lighten sometimes works, but on this occasion I'm going to use luminosity. So that's pretty much it as far as the processing side of it goes. You can do obviously carry on and do a lot more tweaks and stuff from here. The only probably thing I will do now, just to show you, you see there's quite a lot of noise in this. Now, yeah, so I'm going to get rid of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flatten the image, and then if I open up, where are you? Filters, and I run a noise reduction program called Topaz Denoise AI, which I think is really cool. I find it's just easier, and it seems to work better than it works better for me than all the other bits and bobs you can get. So as you can see straight away, the difference between this is the preview with the preset noise reduction put on, and this is the original. So another thing which is good about Topaz is you don't get the worming effect like you do with Lightroom noise reduction, and you've also got these like horrible stars which I really don't like. So you can get rid of those stars by using the colour noise reduction, or just reduce the impact of them. So I just want to remove a tiny little bit more noise, maybe increase the sharpness, so you can see the difference. That's quite a nice smooth image with pretty much hardly any effort at all. You could probably increase the clarity or the sharpness of it, so we could probably bump the sharpness up a bit more. See how that works out. So it hasn't affected the image or made that horrible worming effect. So I think I'm just going to apply that. It takes a little bit of time to work on the whole image. Just if you're interested, the equipment I've used on this, so I've used my William Optics ZS81, which is a doublet with a focal reducer, so 0.8 focal reducer, so it's like 447mm focal length, and I'm using a ASI 183mm Pro, so it's a mono camera. It's a 20 megapixel sensor. So yeah, so now we've got basically the finished image. You can do a few tweaks on it, but I think we'll leave it there. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and think about subscribing. It really helps me out, and I hope to see you on the next one.